I was as excited as any newly engaged woman is when my stepsister, 24, decided to go ahead and announce that she was pregnant at my engagement party. I believe it's common decency to ask before you announce something like that at someone else's party to make sure they're okay with it, but my stepsister is a brat and didn't do any of it. I exposed her, and it blew up in ways I never expected. I'm a 27-year-old woman who got engaged to my long-term boyfriend, 27 male, a week ago, and threw a party to announce it 2 days later. I'm even shocked that she did this because she's always been envious of me and always finds ways to either steal the limelight or bring me down with insults and cruel remarks. Even at my graduation celebration, she made sure to try to steal the show by getting completely inebriated, which meant that my parents had to take care of her, and everyone else was only worried about her welfare. Her dad married my mom when I was a freshman, and ever since then, my stepsister has detested me fiercely. I'm not sure why she feels this way, but I suppose it's probably because her dad treats me equally well. I decided to teach her a lesson and make sure she never does it again because she wants everyone to treat her like a princess or something, and I don't do that. She has had it in for me ever since, and she's made it a point to never let me have my day. Everything has to be about her all the damn time. However, I was tired of it and couldn't take it any longer because she had ruined so many significant days of my life by making them all about herself. And even now as an adult woman, she was still doing things like this. Had a suspicion that she wasn't actually pregnant and was likely just saying it to get attention on her on what should have been my day. But I wasn't sure how I was going to prove it. I was getting married in a month or two, and I was fairly certain that if I didn't address this right away, she would likely announce her miscarriage or something similar around the time of my wedding and make that about herself as well. I simply had to do something about this and expose her lie. 2 days ago, while browsing her Instagram account, I came across something truly intriguing that confirmed my suspicions when she posted a picture of herself with her friends the day before my engagement party, with a very noticeable glass of red wine in her hand. I took a screenshot of that story update and made sure to include the timing as well. If she had known she was pregnant, she most definitely wouldn't have been drinking, so this could only mean that she had made it up. As a precaution, I decided to message her boyfriend about it before telling anyone else about what I had discovered. It was fairly easy to locate his account because she tagged him in a number of mushy posts. I came across his account, and out of pure pettiness, I sent him a congratulations message on becoming a father. Of course, if he didn't know what my stepsister was up to behind his back, you would have freaked out, and I'm sure he didn't know because they had only been dating for 5 months or something. So there was no way she was showing him her crazy side so quickly. As I had anticipated, he replied within minutes, and he was completely perplexed. He informed me that his girlfriend wasn't pregnant, and I must have mistaken him for someone else. Fortunately, someone else had recorded my pregnancy at my party and informed him that they didn't need to keep it a secret any longer. He left my message on the scene, but I didn't care because the damage had already been done, and I was certain that this would at the very least lead to a heated argument, or perhaps I would be lucky enough to get her dumped. But something even worse and completely unprecedented happened after that. To be honest, I believe my stepsister deserved it, but the rest of my family is really upset about it. So her boyfriend posted the video on all his social media accounts and a screenshot. I thought I had been exposing my stepsister, but I think he did most of the revelation. I was shocked to learn that apparently she had banned him from speaking to any other females and would throw a temper tantrum every time he tried to explain that he still had female friends and coworkers who he couldn't just cut off, and that when he had enough, he tried to break up with them. I sent my username along with a lengthy tirade about how his girlfriend had been driving him crazy for the past few months and had completely transformed into a psycho-obsessive stalker just a few weeks into their relationship. By my stepsister's standards, she was completely insane when she began talking about how her life had no purpose without him and that she wouldn't want to live if he ended their relationship. She pretended that everything was fine, but she was crazy and he was afraid to leave. He was literally at his wit's end about how to end this relationship when I sent him that clip, and that was the final straw. He realized that he had no choice but to go public with this information since that would be the only way to get rid of her, so he was doing just that. I'm glad that my pettiness led him to stand up for himself, but it also had consequences because my stepsister went crazy after that post and showed up at my house screaming in my face about how I'd ruined her relationship because I was jealous and insecure and that I needed to fix it. I was afraid because she looked like she was going to hurt me. Definitely wasn't pregnant, and he was done with her now. I felt sorry for whatever the poor guy had to endure because she sounded like the stereotypical toxic girlfriend. She kept screaming the worst names she could think of for me, so I pushed her out and slammed the door shut. After a while, she got tired and left, saying that she was going to ruin my life the same way I had ruined hers yesterday. I'm still terrified of what she will do, but more immediately, I'm worried about my parents because they sent me a message a few hours ago saying that they were disappointed in me and believed that I had stabbed my family in the back. They said that was a really low move, so they wouldn't be attending. I don't think my stepsister deserves an apology, much less a public one, but I do think what I did was a little out of line. Instead of going the petty route and trying to sabotage her relationship actively, I could have told my parents that she wasn't actually pregnant and let out my years of pent-up frustration. I think that just put me in her shoes, and I definitely regret doing that, even though I still don't think her breakup was entirely my fault. The woman was, since my parents haven't really noticed how my stepsister treats me and tries to steal my thunder at every event, I don't feel bad for her. Of course, her boyfriend was going to leave at some point, and my message probably just acted as a catalyst for it or something. Honestly, she needs serious help, so I don't feel bad for her. However, I don't know. I think that my decision to go behind her back might have seemed like a really cruel move to them because they haven't been returning my calls or texts. And I feel terrible now for ruining her relationship update or anything because, as I've already stated, I don't believe I did anything wrong. However, I did try to explain to my parents why I had texted her boyfriend in the first place because they hadn't been returning my calls. So I had to go see them in person to give them my side of the story. I won't pretend that everything was simple. They were icy and appeared very upset, but fortunately still invited me in. I told them everything my stepsister had done and how it felt to me. Of course, they've been at most events and witnessed my sister's behavior firsthand, but they hadn't considered the possibility that she might be doing it all for attention. She was reprimanded for being underage and continuing to drink at my graduation, but it didn't matter because she intended to divert attention from me by getting sick, which she had done. Then, at my 21st birthday party, she chose to wear the exact dress I had purchased for myself, and once more, it was all about her and how eccentric she was. Last year, when I threw a party in honor of a significant promotion I had worked hard for, she even stole that from me by making it all about her. What was supposed to be a celebration of my accomplishments turned into a pity party for her because of her recent breakup and how she was still so affected by it. It was annoying to have all the important days of your life intentionally ruined, and it just got to me. Perhaps what I did was cruel and spiteful, but it was nothing compared to what she had been doing to me since we were teenagers, and I couldn't take it any longer. I had to do something to get back at her, so I did. After I gave my explanation, my parents seemed to soften a little because, as I mentioned, I don't think I'm glad they realized that now because the only reason I even pretended to consider her family was out of respect for my parents, because it would be a bad look for them if it seemed that we couldn't even stay together in the same room for their sake. However, that's done now, and I no longer feel that way. They didn't want me to apologize publicly anymore or anything, but they did think that what I'd done was out of line and that I should have known better. Update 2. A few days have gone by since my last encounter with my stepsister, and although I had thought that this would resolve itself, it hasn't, which is why I'm back. As far as I know, she had forced her boyfriend to let her move in with him, but now that they're no longer together, he's kicked her out and threatened to call the police if she ever again shows up near his house. She moved in with our parents yesterday, and they most likely told her to keep her distance from me. I must say that it's a pretty poor move for her to be fighting with them, especially when she doesn't even have a place to live right now. My mom has been telling me that she's been insufferable since her breakup, and all she does is complain about how I'm the worst. Of course, they're doing their best not to take sides, but she's making it very difficult for them anyway. From now on, she didn't take that well. They got into a big argument, and she told them that I was the one who had ruined her relationship with her. I don't even know who she was fooling with because literally everyone who knows me knows I've been unfaithful. She decided that trying to turn our parents against me wasn't going to cut it, so she needed to do something actively evil to get her revenge. A couple of hours ago, she posted an edited picture of me with my coworker to make it seem more suspicious. She had manipulated it to look like he had his hand on my waist, which was obviously not the case. She accused me of being a cheater who had ruined her relationship because she had discovered my infidelity. I've been with my fiancé for more than 12 years, and I would never cheat on him. In addition, she did a terrible job editing the photos, and it was clear that someone had been tampering with them. I'm not sure why she had wasted so much time on it, but I didn't want it to remain up for long because it would be awkward for me and my coworker, and I didn't want him to feel uncomfortable. He laughed it off, of course, because he was also a close friend and was aware of my stepsisters and my relationship. But even so, this was strange. After she blocked me and my friends told me about it, I told our parents about it. They said they would handle it well, and I hope they do because, despite the jokes, I don't think this is a good look for me at work. 3 days have gone by since my stepsister posted that edited photo of me with my coworker, and after much argument, my parents were able to get her to remove it. However, my mother insisted that it wasn't altered, and she caught me in the act, so she refused to remove it. I'm just glad that they took what I said seriously and realized that my stepsister did in fact have a serious problem. Today, my fiancé called me up at work to let me know that my stepsister had shown up at his restaurant and was using attention-seeking tactics. She had already been taught by them that she needed to grow up and stop trying to make everything about herself all the time, but she refused to learn. Fortunately, she finally took that post down when Dad said that he'd have to tell her to leave if she continued these attention-seeking stunts. He's the head chef at a well-known restaurant, and I couldn't believe she was involving him as well. She had been ordering drinks, and when the bartender told her that they couldn't possibly serve her anymore because she was already very inebriated, she threw a fit and began yelling that she was related to the head chef and that she should be treated like a queen. She also threatened to have them shut down if they didn't comply, and she had to be escorted out by security after the entire incident. But the damage had he tried his best to hide how much this was bothering him because he didn't want me to feel bad about the situation. But I knew him too well to know that he was lying. I know that at this point, even complaining to my parents isn't helpful because they can't exactly control every single thing that she does and watch over her every second of the day. She had been screaming her head off about how she was the soon-to-be sister-in-law of their head chef, and they needed to cater to all of her needs. A week has gone by since my stepsister caused chaos at my fiancé's workplace, and I'm tired of her believing she can get away with anything and everything. Update 4. I'm frustrated by this whole terrible situation and wish I could do something to teach her a lesson once and for all. I decided I had had enough and needed to take matters into my own hands because I couldn't keep telling my parents to watch her because she was an adult woman with free will, and the only thing they could do was reprimand her, which was obviously ineffective. They could evict her, but that would just give her complete freedom to do whatever she wanted, I believed. After considering it for a few days, I made the decision to give her a taste of her own medicine and treat her the same way she had been treating me and my fiancé. She had been involving our coworkers because she was certain that our friends knew us too well to turn against us, but in a public place where there were more people to enforce the rules, things would be different and we could easily get into trouble. I never thought I would do something so crazy. But if she was trying to get even with me, I didn't think I needed to remain calm and be kind to her because I had already ruined it once. I decided 2 days ago to show up at her workplace and embarrass her in the same way that she had embarrassed me. In fact, embarrassment might not even be a serious enough word to describe what I did. It was easy to find out where she worked because she had boasted about her high job as a fashion photographer for a really popular magazine. This was a good deed because I essentially saved her boyfriend from suffering any longer, and I didn't see any harm in being petty again because that was the only way out of this and the only language she understood. I bought a chocolate cake with the words "attention-seeking" written on it in red frosting to make it stand out. I was able to persuade the receptionist not to tell my stepsister that she had a visitor who was stating that it was her birthday that day, and I wanted to surprise her. It wasn't too difficult because I had the cake to prove it. I asked her if we could use an empty conference room so that I could set up the space while she gathered people in the room. Once I was alone in that conference room, I opened the cake box in the middle of the room and placed it next to it. I printed out several leaflets in which I detailed my thoughts about my stepsister and the experiences she had given me throughout my childhood. I then slipped out on my own, regrettably, not being there to witness what transpired next. Fortunately, I had a friend whose brother worked as an intern at the establishment, which made my plan seem even more logical. I felt like a wicked genius as I left the building, and I honestly learned from her that when they had all gathered in the room and discovered me missing, they had been perplexed, but the cherry on top made my stepsister lose it on everyone. She screamed at the receptionist for 20 minutes straight for failing to warn her and allowing almost anyone to enter the building. She then got into a fight with their HR manager because even though it wasn't her birthday, everyone had already started reading the leaflets I had left, and despite their attempts to seize them, some people had managed to pocket them. Eventually, everyone knew what was in the leaflets, whether or not they thought it was secondary, but one thing was for certain. This would lead to a complete scandal about her at work and get people talking, which is precisely what I wanted. She hasn't gotten in touch with me since, and although I'm sure my parents are aware of what happened, they haven't mentioned it either. We're all acting like nothing's wrong, which is fine with me because I didn't really care anymore. I did what I had to do and got my revenge, or whatever people want to call it. My goal was to let her know not to mess with me anymore, and I believe I was successful in doing so. Since then, she has essentially abandoned me, leaving me alone with no calls or texts. Update 5. I want to get married peacefully. Hey everyone, I know it's been over a month since I last gave you an update, and I haven't told you anything about what's been going on. But to be fair, not much has happened with my stepsister. In better news, though, I got married last week and it was wonderful, and everything went exactly as planned. My dad, who I don't consider to be my stepdad, was there, and my stepsister, who will never be my sister, walked me down the aisle. It was a dream, beautiful, emotional, and also enjoyable, and I had a great time. I don't even know how that was a threat given that she is literally in her 20s, and the only reason she still has a place to live is because her father is too kind to throw her out despite her antics, but my parents had enough and told her that if she tried to ruin things for me again, they would be the ones to throw her out anyhow, so she had better watch her behavior that shut her up. Nevertheless, she hasn't tried. At the time, my stepsister did her best to persuade our parents not to attend out of respect for her dad to directly harm me since the incident at work, but I suppose she's finally learned her lesson because I'm leaving for my honeymoon tomorrow and don't want her to cause me any more problems.